used to be the host of the previous incarnation of the Eurocast.
Oh, hidden lore. I didn't know that.
And you're still a host right now, and I was muted. So, welcome everybody, and today the idea is very simple. We will be trash talking Russia. And that is the sole idea for today, because I don't know if you have been monitoring the shit that has been going on, guys, but lately Russia has been worse. And I don't mean oh, I will launch a nuke wars. That has been seen for a long time. I mean black market dollar exchange rate wars. So
What is the black market exchange rate for dollar?
Good question. We don't know because it's black market. We know the averages. They aren't great. I will tell you that much. Apparently, one bank, and that was a bank, by the way. So imagine how bad shit is. Because the bank was offering 200 rubles if you want to buy a euro for your rubles, but they would offer only 50 rubles back.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wait, so, hold up. They want you to give them a euro?
And they will give you 50 rubles. Yes. Yep, exactly. But if you want to buy euro, you would have to hand them over 200. So 4 times. Nice spread, right? Healthy.
I mean, the overall situation is, how to best phrase it, interesting. Or rather, the long-term situation is interesting. Because while there is still this trench warfare situation going on in eastern Ukraine and that failed offensive in Kharkiv, that has taken more or less a backstage to all that international navigation and maneuvering that's going on recently. The deals with Iran and recently North Korea. And most importantly, the rise of pro-Russian, or at least Russian-friendly parties in France, now here in Germany, and England, or the UK overall.
I mean, I would mostly just say that relating to the current wave of economic hardship we are riding on, well, this is just the new sanctions. That's basically it, which is just crazy because the only thing that changed is that now banks are liable for handling Russian money that we don't like.
One of the explanations as to why the consequences took this long to reach this level could be that, for one, Russia was preparing for the invasion for a long time. And if you guys remember, right after the beginning of the invasion, all of Europe, as well as Switzerland, kicked Russia out of SWIFT, if you guys remember that.
Yes.
And
for our viewers at home, SWIFT is just that big banking system which allows you to transfer money easily between different states which are in the SWIFT system.
Exactly. Which, by the way, the system was never designed for it to be used as a part of sanctions. To be honest with you, we never even did see the appeal of that before. The idea was just preposterous.
That's to put into context the gravity of the situation at the time when we made this decision.
Yeah, so when it comes to things related to SWIFT, for example, that's the one thing. But like currently we see a bigger wave because with SWIFT that only did target just Russia, right? With the new wave of sanctions, the issue is like, oh my god, like National Bank of Kyrgyzstan did stop handling all transactions in rubles, for example. You know why? Because they don't want to be sanctioned themselves, and they have no way to verify if that ruble transaction isn't some kind of a cleanup operation of some dirty money of sorts.
Okay.
I mean, what's also worth noting is that a lot of Russian oligarchs have their money stored in the West, since the Russian financial system is very prone to cases of some extreme corruption. So before the war, it was just a safe bet to store your money in the West.
It's because people like Putin, they like our little funny rules for little people, etc. He likes that. He
That is
just
true.
likes to be the only one being the subject of them.
At the beginning of the war, we started seizing oligarchs' property. I believe in Germany, they seized a yacht, if I remember correctly.
Let's not talk about those yacht seizures because we did see some in Italy and in Germany, and that has been like the worst experience ever for everybody involved in it. Like, don't get me wrong, we still don't have money, and we still have to pony up the upkeep.
Can
So
we convert it into a destroyer? Like just mount a turret up front, maybe a SAM system.
basically, what I know is that when it comes to ships, the law is very, very clear on that, what you can do and what you can't, because it's like this is this international maritime law, right? So they don't really have an in. But you know what I mean? Like, they cannot really do anything here. They don't have an option. They cannot really make this thing disappear. They can't really make it turn into money. And they cannot really take it for themselves, barring their ships could be taken the same way.
To
I
go on
see.
a little side tangent about seized Russian assets, about how we are using them to send money to Ukraine without violating our own financial rules. Because
Yep.
we can't, our rules dictate we can't just take them all of that money and give it to Ukraine. But our rules don't say that we can't take the dividends.
interest.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, the interest. Because it's a lot of money. I think it's
600 billion.
Yeah, 60% of all Russian capital is stored outside of Russia, if I remember that figure correctly. And that throws a lot of dividends.
It was more. It was more.
Influenced.
Even
I believe the amount that I heard at least was 600 billion in Western banks, whether it be in oligarchs' assets or banking assets. But yeah, something around that.
yeah. So as far as this solution, I would say it's very elegant. And to be honest with you, that should suffice for financing Ukraine for the next year, which I think is the priority number one. So that's definitely very good that we are doing that.
Yes.
And what I wanted to talk about that is, I don't want to be the guy that is like, oh, we defeated Russia already or something, but I can see the end of it right now.
I honestly can't.
Oh,
Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm the first person that will crack one open when Moscow burns, but we're still far away from it.
Oh, my
Because
target isn't for the Moscow to burn. I just want Ukraine to recapture its territory.
we're even far away from that. Because if Russia has proven to be capable of one thing over the past 2 years, it's A, producing a lot of stuff of low quality if the high quality stuff runs out, and B, throw people into the meat grinder. And the people in the meat grinder don't even really complain about it.
I know, but remember, we have an issue. Sorry?
You were saying that we have an
sorry.
issue.
Yeah, we have an issue basically right now when it comes to Russia, where they really, really had to push hard right now. Because if they wouldn't do and wouldn't succeed right now, when will the next opportunity be, right? Only right now did they gain this very, very long MAGA blockade, and they didn't get that much gains. You know, it was perfect.
I can see the way you approach this point of view, but I believe that to me at least, Russia lost the war the moment it invaded Ukraine. It was never going to be a victory. But to bounce back on what Roy said, the thing with Russia is that they are very good at wars of attrition, whether or not they're going to win, and it's going to be how to say that.
A very long war.
Yeah, like Russia is good at enduring, but they're not going to necessarily be able to make major gain, especially when you consider the fact that Ukraine has a very large margin of error with all the support that NATO is giving them. But I can see this war ending in in any less than 2 years.
Yeah, same. Honestly, I think how long this war will go on is also highly dependent on the elections this and next year. France and the USA vote this year. We in Germany vote next year. And those are already three of the biggest countries economically in NATO.
Yep.
And that could really shift the tide in Russia's favor if one or even two of them just decide to cut ties with Ukraine. Because we've seen how the airstrikes on Ukraine intensified during that 6-month MAGA blockade. Now imagine that going on for 4 years.
I can see the worries has always been that way. We've never doubted that we would have the means of supporting Ukraine, but it has always been about internal support. So yeah. When it comes to France, at the very least, what I can tell you is that Macron, as of right now, is doing everything he can to lock the country into giving support to Ukraine, even after he leaves.
Yeah, I honestly think Le Pen will win this election, but on the other hand, France wasn't that big of a aid giver to Ukraine compared to GDP. I think France was even one of the on the lower end of aid.
Let's remember that the story only caring about GDP here isn't really applicable. We need to also look at the contributors, netto, because again, a country like Estonia might have contributed a lot regarding compared to its GDP, and sure, that's great, but at the same time, you can't really change the tide using that money.
Okay, fair.
So we were saying about the support for Ukraine at risk of wavering during the elections. As for France, I don't believe that it's going to be a major issue due to the stance of the current government. I don't know the political situation in Germany, so I can't make an estimation. Do you have any insight into this, Abelwar?
Yeah, I think the next election will be won by the CDU. I mean, they are, or have been, at least in the opposition, been very, very pro-Ukraine. How much of this was just a way of their new populism or genuine policy, that remains to be seen. I mean, our rearmament program is already beginning to stalling because our chancellor decided that it's time to balance the budget a bit. So the Ministry of Defense has been ordered to save some money whilst modernizing. So yeah, our old equipment being modernized is now at risk.
Okay. What about the government stance about support to Ukraine? If there were to be the elections in the coming years, what would you say is at risk of changing?
Honestly, Germany is still, or will be, quite stable in that regard for the next 5 years. I mean, sure, the AfD will win in East Germany some landslide victories.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, that is not enough to influence politics on the federal scale enough to have an impact on Ukraine aid.
Yeah, you made me remember that Germany was a federal system. Yeah, that is true as well. It is a different. You guys got a different structure.
Yep. Even that also potentially makes some parties like AFD kind of content with where they are, right?
hmm
Like in theory, you want to lead a land rather than having a small percentage in, in General Assembly.
Yep. Yep.
That power dynamics in the East will this year be very interesting because in most states there not one party can unite enough support behind it to form a government on the state level, which means that either there will be a AfD minority government or the CDU breaks its or ends its fire break against the AfD and is willing to form a coalition with them. The problem with that would be that the implication for the federal level would be that the AfD would be accepted into any form of coalition constellation, which has been denied to them for the past 9 years.
Okay.
Okay, but let's also still continue the economic issues in Russia, right?
Yeah.
So another things that are an issue for them is they are quite lacking in terms of their yuan reserves. They have a lot of issue purchasing enough yuans to fulfill their import needs. And the another part that's very worrying if you're a country like Russia is that Gazprom now costs money to run instead of making money.
Oh yeah. How could we compare that? It's basically like TCIM, the big chip producer from Taiwan, suddenly going bankrupt, or the implication of Samsung costing South Korea money.
Yep.
That is a very good analogy, actually.
The
Yeah.
latter one is a better analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, because like Samsung is South Korea as much as Gazprom is Russia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here, when it comes to if Gazprom earns money, you can prop up the rest of the economy, right? But if Gazprom isn't making money, then how the hell you can even prop up any part of your economy? Because that's just your biggest, budget contributor right there.
I mean,
If now you need to prop
it isn't
it
their
up,
budget contributor, it is their budget.
yeah, essentially.
That is true. They rely a lot on fossil fuels for their exports and their annual revenue. And yeah, I mean, when you
Yeah, I mean,
consider in fact that how do you make that analogy that if Gazprom is losing money and it is basically a national security asset, they are basically reliant on China at this point to sell their gas at a reduced price.
The funny thing is that Russia didn't want it to increase their order books on gas. Like the way China sees it, they have plenty already.
Yeah, I mean, Russia is talking about China as like that untapped market, but they're trying to break into a market that's already being dominated by the different Arab oil and gas producing states. So they have to compete with all the different Gulf states and bid at a price far below average to at least get some money out of their gas, because otherwise they would have just to burn it, which means they get exactly 0 ruble out of it.
Yeah, I mean, let's remember that basically, what's next? When it comes to oil, they have only one option only, selling raw oil for another country to process. Because they have no processing capability left for themselves even. Like they have to import their own gasoline. So Russian gasoline needs to be imported back from country like China. Right? Because Russia transports like raw oil to China, then to make up the difference in how much gasoline it needs for the war effort, for domestic consumption, they need to make this up because their refineries aren't able to cook up enough of it. So
I'm actually terrified how China is capable of turning everything into a strategic victory.
Yeah, let's also talk land maybe, because again, I wouldn't make this episode being like 100% about shit talking Russia if it wasn't warranted. Another thing is that they've sold a river to China.
What?
Yeah, they sold a river.
A beaver.
River.
A river.
A river. Oh.
River. Yeah.
The Amur? Like the thing that runs along the Russian-Chinese border in the Far East?
Even funnier. The river that runs along the Russian-North Korean border.
Oh, the Amur.
Yeah.
The Amur Delta.
Yeah, because...
Or the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the entire thing, basically. Like, the entire thing.
Yeah. It's basically outer Manchuria, then Korea, and then China. Goes through and through.
That's honestly quite funny, because the outer Manchuria, like that Russian Far Eastern region, is being referred to in internal Chinese documents since, I think, last year. By their original Chinese names, the ones it had in 1880.
Oh, I didn't even finish yet. Don't worry. We'll get to that because again, on the Amur River, so the one near Khabarovsk, there is this island, right? And this island was half Russian, half Chinese.
Wasn't that the island that almost triggered a nuclear war between the Soviet Union
Yes,
and
yes,
China?
that one.
Ah, the funny island.
Yeah, the funny island. So I want to tell you that Chinese army just annexed it. They are in a firing distance range from Khabarovsk. Khabarovsk being like, let's call it for what it is, the only big city in that area other than Vladivostok, which, by the way, if you attack Khabarovsk, you cut off Vladivostok from everything. And let's remember that once you take over Khabarovsk, everything else is just swamps.
I'm not gonna lie. In my opinion, it would be really funny. The Russians move in 1880, deport all the Chinese, move in the Russians. 150 years later, the Chinese come back, move in, deport all the Russians, move in the Chinese. We have to repeat that in another 150 years.
Do you know what's the funniest part in this? Is that the context in which the Russian Empire got this territory was basically the context in which Russia was right now.
Yep.
Like at the time, the Qing dynasty was in a state of turmoil, of war, and they basically had no choice because they couldn't afford to split their troop like that.
I mean, it was even better. Like at the point where Russia negotiated the handover of the Outer Manchuria, China was currently in the middle of what's called the Second Opium War, where it was being spit roasted by Britain and France.
Yep.
Because it turns out when you kill foreign citizens, state sanctions, the said state will probably get pissed off that you killed their citizens.
Yeah, it was following the Taiping Rebellion. Was it?
No, I think it was actually the trigger for the Taiping Rebellion. Oh, no. It was after the Oh man, I gotta read up Chinese history again.
Yeah, I'm gonna go from Victoria
also,
3.
speaking of, do you know already that in the Jewish Autonomous Oblast in Russia, China is renting like shitload of territory with their own farmers? Like China just rents that land, puts their own farmers there, and let's remind you how Texas happened to become part of the United States.
Since we're talking about the United States and China buying up lands, what is really funny, if you look at Chinese state-affiliated corporations owning land in the US and overlay that with a map of US Army strategic bases, it forms a perfect overlay. They just buy up all the land around nuclear silos, air bases, naval bases, in a perfect radius.
I mean, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
By the way, so, like overall, let's sum up. The Manchurian region of Russia is like basically being able to be conquered in few hours. Because that's essentially what we just, summed up here.
Mm-hmm. I think, again, I might derail this a bit. You guys think if China takes Manchuria, that Japan will move in on the... I forgot the name of the archipelago north of Japan.
Kugel Islands.
Oh yeah, those ones.
I mean, they did say they would enforce their ownership of those islands. And they've been building heavy helicopter cruisers, so...
But remember, it's still strictly self-defense.
Yeah. It's not an aircraft carrier. It's a heavy helicopter cruiser. Totally different thing.
Yeah. It's basically wolf warrior diplomacy again. But at this point, nobody is really surprised. China has always been reasoning like this, when it's not, when it is not the excuse of your territory being on a former ancient map or whatever. It is just NATO is oppressing me or something like this. So yeah.
It's not a tank, it's just a pistol with a few more horsepower.
Like the funny thing is that I see that after this river being sold to China on that North Korean border, like how Putin will now visit his friend.
By a plane. Or they do a road trip.
Maybe by the sea. He may take a swim along the North Sea. I don't know.
Because like Kim Jong Un is not flying. So if you want to get into that tin can death trap to go over to Kim, then please be his guest, but he isn't flying.
Isn't there? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. And yeah.
So, like, how the hell will he get, to his friends? Like, they aren't going to be BFFs. And by the way, like, everybody hates this deal. No, like, I mean, everybody. North Korea hates it because now they will have commercial activity on one of their, rivers that is their border, which means that, it's harder to patrol and everything.
Yep.
Russia hates it because obviously, like, Russia is this country that, changed its constitution to be like, hey, now our constitution now forbids us from either selling or giving up our land. Like, we cannot do that anymore. And now they do this shit.
You're saying that like the Russian constitution is worth the money it's printed on.
I mean, obviously,
worth
the
the paper it's
constitution
printed on.
isn't like real because it's not a law. You need for it to be a law for it to be a constitution.
I have to just have to throw in a quick intermission. I found the 2021 demographics of the Jewish Autonomous Oblast.
Sure, how many Chinese? Percent?
88.8% Russians, 0.9% Ukrainians, 0.6% Jews, 0.3 Tatars, 0.3 Azerbaijanis, 0.2 Tajikistanis, 1.8% other ethnicities.
Hey, I have a very stupid question.
And alas, 7.2% ethnicity not stated. I think those are your Chinese friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of people who don't want to state their ethnicity for some reason. But yeah, I have a very, very stupid joke right now to make. So if right-wingers go to Jewish autonomous oblasts, like, do they still are like the Jews control everything, even though you see they're like 0.6% population? And
who do you think the Chinese bought the land from?
Okay, that's true.
That is true. Who do you think the Chinese borrowed the money from?
Yeah, because I just find it very funny that it's like Jewish autonomous oblast and like no Jews live there. Like, really, there are more Jews in Moscow, of all places, than in that oblast.
My favorite moment of a Jews control everything guy getting owned was when some dude was at a demonstration and holds a sign like Jews control the media. And he's being interviewed at live television, and he's halfway through his speech about how the Jews own everything, some dude just walks up to him, screams at him that he's Jewish, and yells at him that he owns this park where he currently stands, that he's now ordered to leave.
To our decree of the Global Council
That's
of Lizard
great.
Men.
After a short shouting match, he won.
So the guy was actually an owner, or
Oh, no.
because man, like if he would just provide the full paperwork and be like, "No, I'm not even a dick. It's my property. Get the hell out of here."
That would be funny as hell.
Like, why are you coming onto my property to say shit about me?
I mean, at this point, we're not really surprised about the Jewish conspiracies, the global stuff, this type of shit, you know. But yeah, I mean, like Russia is basically selling their lands. Putin has finally been writing up his own version of the constitution that he'll be releasing soon, if he hasn't already.
Putin finally also told Kim Jong-un like what kind of roses he wants for the wedding. So
Oh,
No, my favorite moment from his whole trip was when there was a Russian reporter in Pyongyang, and he said that North Korea is one of the most freest countries on earth.
because there are no protesters here.
Do you see how happy these people are?
No,
Nobody's
and
complaining.
like, and you know, right now, like he just said, like, look how happy those people are, how free they are. There are no protesters here. Everybody is happy, which is just, you know, on par of what I expected from Russian TV. Like, to be honest with you.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that sounds like a cursed version of 1984. Be happy or we shoot you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that North Korea has a thought police, so that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Fun fact: the name
Hey, they
Thought
even
Police
have the house
originated
police.
in the name Thought Police originated in interwar Japan. It was their internal spy network to spy on their own people.
Damn, that is in line with what I expected.
Hey, so actually, guys, do you know they have that thought police? And I mean like thoughts as in women. And I'm
Oh.
serious. They have a special police wing that attends women's, gymnastic practices to find girls for Kim Jong-un.
Oh.
So
Oh,
they
no.
literally have the police house division.
I watched enough documentaries about Gaddafi to know where this is going.
Me too.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think we need to go much further.
I mean, you know, I
Can-
bet
can-
he's a
can-
beast. You know that
can-
he's great. He's great, you know, at such activities when he struggles to put a tree into the ground more than his counterpart that he's like twice his age.
To be fair, if we just feed him enough partners, he might die of a heart attack. Or from exhaustion. Maybe both.
Yeah, and that would be good ties for him as well. So
Yeah, and then his hot sister takes over.
hot? He has the hot sister?
Yeah, haven't you seen her?
Man, don't get me wrong. Like your humiliation king with admitting that she's hot is adorable, but
Yeah, she's probably into things that would get us banned here from YouTube, I think.
man,
Yeah.
I will tell you that
God, that will be the time to prove that even women can be despicable butchers. Finally, equality in the world of dictators. Gender equality.
Oh yeah, I mean, if there was ever a woman that I looked at and was immediately thinking, "Wow, she's for sure into some fucked up shit," well, it's her. Like,
to be more convincing, she'd have to be ugly though. That would get the message across faster. Because if she's too hot, people are gonna be,
no, like she isn't hot. She's cold. She's cold. She might be attractive, but holy shit! You just look at her immediately. You know that her foreplay definition is basically grabbing knives and throwing them at you.
Okay, I think we're getting a bit carried away. Just
yeah,
saying.
yeah, we might be. We might be a bit.
Yeah, we now spiraled to, okay, Russia sold a river to, I wish Kim Jong-un's sister would step on me.
Yeah,
that's you. That's every Birdman I've ever seen one. I never said such thing, and I would never want this. In fact, I'm pretty sure it would be painful.
Oh yeah, and I'm very sure you would like it.
Man,
let's get back on topic.
But leaving our mates kings away, out of the picture. Wasn't there also like this whole thing where Russian chiefs of staff were discussing invading Kazakhstan for their majority Russian regions?
When was this?
and yeah, they did that like quite recently as well. I mean, imagine doing a small faux pas like that after you just held that country militarily.
You know what's even funnier, that like Russia's sphere of influence in Central Asia collapsed so much that China just threw them out of the region.
Oh yeah, China is throwing them out of the region. Even us, we're basically stepping on their toes. We're basically selling Caesars to Armenia, and they're still coping about this, by the way. And
I think Central Asia hurts them more that their influence there is being expelled, because it was like their safe zone, like Russia's belly, and China just cut that wide open and ate it all.
Yep, that is true. And the worst part for them is that basically, if Central Asia is not under the sphere of influence, we're fucked basically, because now they're surrounded from all sides. And you can even say they're surrounded by China, because China is basically just an ally of circumstance, not even a solid ally.
No,
Or I can
honestly,
tell you that nothing turns Xi Jinping more than another missile test in his backyard, baby. You never know, they get freaky over there.
Honestly, I think if Russia would start a land war in Asia, non-credible defense would enter a erection-induced coma. Because
Sure.
it is rule number 1 of warfare: don't start a land war in Asia, because have fun running supply chains there, and we know how bad Russian supply chains are.
Yep. I mean, when you have such a large territory, on top of you having bad supply chains.
Speaking of logistics, do you know about
Today's
that there
video
are
was
still
sponsored by. Okay, sorry.
Almost. Do you know that Russia is still producing the same logistics workhorse they have been for the last 50 years?
Yes.
Oh
That
yeah,
doesn't surprise
baby.
me.
Oh yeah, they do. They just modernize their engines. Apparently, they're 5% more efficient and they flame out like twice less. So, you know, your chance of dying is slightly lower, I would say, you know? You might live.
You know what's really funny? The tires that they use on trucks are still partially produced in the Ukrainian SSR.
I mean, that isn't even surprising. Like, after the fall of the USSR, Russia has been basically coasting on its legacy, whether it be on the aerospace sector, the military sector. We can even see it in Ukraine, where they are getting
They
weapons.
gambled it all on oil and lost.
Yeah,
To be fair, the only reason Russia still has those was because nobody else wanted them.
really?
Oh my god, they're just like me.
Yeah, like I mean it. Like they didn't want those trucks. Like just the factory was building it, and nobody figured out. Like most of shit in Soviet bloc.
Not even Kazakhstan? Because I believe Kazakhstan was the last to leave the USSR, so not even them wanted
Yeah,
those
Would
ships?
you do
Yeah,
this?
like
Smelt it?
honestly, Kazakhstan only left the Soviet Union last because they did the smart decision to look at, okay, what is happening now? We just wait and see how the situation evolves and then make our call.
Yeah, like let's maybe not live. Maybe we will be the Soviet Union.
I mean, they were for a few hours.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's
But-
be honest, they're as big, like they could do that.
Yeah.
The Central Asian Soviet Republic.
Do you
Man,
imagine?
Russia is the biggest nature preserve in the world. I didn't say
yeah.
it was a good nature preserve.
I mean, look at that. They house over 140 million monkeys.
What?
Yeah. They're called Russians.
Oh,
Yeah, bad joke, I know.
Well, to be fair, there are more bears in Russia than Russians, and bears are pretty smart. So, on average, Russian is pretty smart.
Honestly, I can't wait for that quote to come back in like 10 years to bite me in the ass. Hi, internet. Hi, me 10 years from now, trying to get an important job.
Exactly. From this new Russian conglomerate that will be controlling your life for the foreseeable future. By the way, like,
I mean, honestly, if Russia actually wins this shit and takes over Europe, I think I just might as well arrange my death in a car accident and start new.
well,
we might.
at least plan for Sudoku beforehand.
Yeah. For my part, I will die
Like,
in trial combat.
Sudoku implies that you go out with a negative KD ratio.
By the way, guys, like, still, when it comes to Russia, like, can you guys imagine being this size and looking at Ukraine and being like, damn, I need that?
Yes.
I mean,
I too have played too much Hearts of Iron.
yes, if you're a Paradox player, you might understand this, unfortunately. But the
I mean,
thing is,
no, I get that in Hearts of Iron, but as far as we know, Putin didn't play any video games.
he might have played Hearts of Iron.
I mean, if he would have known that the actual meta is 21 with, and not whatever Russia is doing.
Yeah, at least they would know that in 21st century the meta is technological supremacy.
Yeah.
Ukrainian army is playing Hoi 4 while Putin is playing Crusader Kings.
He's give him credit. I think he's playing Kaiser Reich. I think at least.
No, like also
shout out to the two people in the audience understanding that.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to our two listeners.
Yep. Shout out to our two listeners.
Shout out to you.
And yeah, when it comes to like this territory, because man, Like, I swear, I just looked at the map of Russia right now, and I just discovered new mountains. You know, it's
Urals?
fun. No, of course, not the Urals. The
Or
Urals?
do you mean the ones in East Siberia?
Yeah,
Ah.
the banana-shaped ones.
Yeah, have you also discovered the ones in Karelia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we should make Finland bigger.
We should just make a map scale that would make Finland ever so slightly bigger. Like,
Yeah. When I look at Finland, it bothers me that they haven't annexed Karelia. Like on a fundamental level, it bothers me.
To quote Futurama, why hasn't the smaller, bigger country just ate the smaller?
Yeah. Exactly this.
well, to be honest with you, when I look at some lands that Russians have, like Yakutia, I don't get it either. Like, would you guys want to govern it?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
I forgot complex in any form of actual power validates that.
I mean,
at least you're honest about it.
it pretty much wouldn't give you any power because all the money-making activities are federal.
Who said that I'm going there to make money?
What the hell would you make? Would you just create a kingdom that would have funny orders?
I'm gonna make Chechnya look like a liberal democracy.
Oh, okay.
If you think fascism was bad, wait and see what I do.
Man, you're living in Yakutia. I don't think it can get much worse.
Trust me,
you can't really threaten somebody with a gulag if they are in the gulag.
I'm gonna make Gulag look like 4 Seasons.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've got a few ideas to make it worse, but and ironically, with the budget of the Yakutia, I don't even think that would be possible.
Speaking of, guys, should we finish it at that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I already said enough.
Let's go
to keep
because...
to keep the Feds occupied for the next year.
Yep. Next time we will bring you on. You will not have to say that again.
Yeah. Next time you bring me on, you will be talking over the live stream from me in Den Haag.
Yep. The next one will be you in The Hague. Just a visit. We will see where it goes. Okay. So, guys, catch you everybody later, and next week we'll see how it changes. This will probably be as a recording, like separately, not only the VOD from the stream. So, see everybody.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks for having me on. Bye.
Yep. Okay.